In the heart of Egypt, where golden sands whisper secrets of forgotten dynasties, there lies a story that has fascinated and frightened the world for over a century: the Curse of the Pharaohs. It is a tale born from the depths of a tomb sealed for more than 3,000 years, a tale that began when man dared to disturb the eternal sleep of a boy king Tutankhamun. It was November 4, 1922, when British archaeologist Howard Carter, after years of fruitless searching in the Valley of the Kings, stumbled upon a step carved into the desert floor. His team dug feverishly, uncovering more steps that led to a sealed doorway. Faint hieroglyphs revealed the name that would soon echo across history: Tutankhamun. Carter's patron, Lord Carnarvon, was summoned immediately. Together, they opened a passage that hadn't been touched since ancient times. Behind the door was a small chamber filled with debris, and beyond it, another sealed doorway stamped with the royal seal. Carter lit a candle and made a small hole in the plaster. As he peered inside, his assistant asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter, overwhelmed, whispered words that would become immortal: "Yes, wonderful things." What they saw inside defied imagination: glittering treasures, golden chariots, thrones, jewelry, and statues of gods guarding the resting place of Egypt's most enigmatic pharaoh. The discovery was hailed as the greatest archaeological find of the 20th century, but amid the glory, a shadow lingered in a broken bar. The newspapers were the first to call it the Curse of the Pharaohs. The legend spread like wildfire when tragedy struck soon after. Just a few months after the tomb was opened, Lord Carnarvon, the man who funded the entire expedition, fell ill from a mosquito bite that turned septic. He died in Cairo on April 5, 1923. As the story goes, on the very night of his death, all lights in Cairo mysteriously went out. Back at Carnarvon's estate in England, his dog howled and dropped dead at the exact same moment. Newspapers around the world declared the curse real. "Death comes on wings to he who enters the tomb of a pharaoh," read one headline. Soon, more misfortunes followed. Within a few years, several members of the excavation team died under unusual or unexplained circumstances. George J. Gould, a wealthy visitor who had seen the tomb, died of fever soon after. Arthur Mace, one of Carter's assistants, died of arsenic poisoning. Prince Ali Kamel Fahmy Bey, who was associated with the excavation, was mysteriously murdered in London. Even Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, who x-rayed Tutankhamun's mummy, suddenly fell ill and died. By 1930, more than a dozen people connected to the tomb had died unexpectedly. The press, hungry for sensationalism, tied every tragedy back to the so-called Pharaoh's curse. But was it real? Or was it simply coincidence, magnified by superstition and fear? Howard Carter himself lived until 1939, 17 years after the discovery. He never believed in the curse and dismissed it as Tommy rot. Yet even Carter, the skeptic, was not untouched by misfortune. Many who knew him said his health gradually declined, and some claimed his home was plagued by strange occurrences. Egyptians, however, had long believed that their tombs were sacred, protected by spiritual forces. Ancient inscriptions often carried warnings: "Death shall come swiftly to he who disturbs the peace of the pharaoh." Whether metaphor or magic, these words were meant to protect the dead from the living, and perhaps, to protect the living from what lay within. Modern science has tried to explain the curse in rational terms. Some experts suggest that ancient tombs, sealed for millennia, harbored deadly bacteria, mold, or toxic gases. When the tomb was opened, these pathogens could have infected the explorers, causing strange illnesses and deaths. In 1986, scientists examined the air samples from sealed tombs and discovered the presence of Aspergillus flavus, a fungus that can cause severe respiratory infections. But the scientific explanations did little to extinguish the allure of the supernatural. Even decades later, people continued to link strange deaths to the curse. When the treasures of Tutankhamun toured the world in the 1970s, a museum director in San Francisco who oversaw the exhibit suffered a stroke. Another curator in London died suddenly before the artifacts arrived. The legend refused to die. Just like the ancient pharaoh it surrounded, Tutankhamun himself remains a mysterious figure. Crowned king at just 9 years old, he ruled Egypt during a turbulent period. His father, the heretic Pharaoh Akhenaten, had tried to abolish Egypt's many gods and worship only Ea of the sun disk. Aten, This angered priests and people alike. After Akhenaten's death, young Tutankhamun restored the old gods and the traditional ways, earning both reverence and enemies. His death, at around 18 or 19, is another puzzle. For years, it was believed he was murdered, possibly by a blow to the head. Later scans showed no such wound, but instead a broken leg or possibly an infection that led to death. Others suggest a chariot accident or genetic illness, since DNA tests revealed Tutankhamun was severely inbred, suffering from multiple deformities and frailties. Yet, for a boy so young and a reign so short, Tutankhamun became one of history's most enduring names, not for how he lived, but for how he was found. The artifacts from his tomb revealed a civilization of unimaginable wealth and artistry. A golden mask that perfectly preserved his youthful face, amulets inscribed with spells from the Book of the Dead, and 4 guardian statues watching silently over his sarcophagus as if daring any mortal to disturb their king. One of the most chilling objects found was a small clay tablet bearing a curse written in hieratic script. It read, "Those who enter this sacred tomb shall swiftly be visited by the wings of death." Though scholars later argued it was likely a coincidence or a mistranslation, the words still sent shivers down the spines of those who worked inside the tomb. Even modern events have fueled the legend. In 1966, during the transport of Tutankhamun's treasures to Paris, a cargo plane caught fire and crashed shortly after takeoff. Though unrelated, tabloids again screamed, "The Pharaoh's curse strikes." The allure of curses, after all, isn't about proof, it's about mystery. It's about humanity's deep-rooted fear that some forces are beyond our understanding, that ancient spirits, angered by our intrusion, might still reach out from the sands of time. To the Egyptians, death was not the end, it was a journey. They believed the soul traveled through the underworld, guided by gods like Anubis and Osiris, and faced judgment before entering the afterlife. To disturb the dead was to disrupt this sacred journey. Perhaps, in that sense, the curse wasn't a punishment, it was a protection. Today, Tutankhamun's treasures rest in the Grand Egyptian Museum, under the watchful gaze of millions who visit each year. But even now, the legend lingers. Visitors often report strange sensations near the golden mask, a sudden chill, the flicker of lights, or an unexplainable feeling of being watched. Whether it is coincidence, curse, or psychological suggestion, the effect remains the same, all mixed with fear. The curse of the pharaohs has transcended myth, it has become history's most haunting mystery. Maybe the real curse is not death, but obsession. The way this story continues to grip humanity, century after century, from Hollywood films to books and documentaries, Tutankhamun's name lives on, immortal as the golden mask that bears his likeness. Perhaps, deep in the desert, under the eternal stars of Egypt, the boy king still guards his secrets. And perhaps, those who dare to uncover them will always feel the whisper of that ancient warning, "Death shall come swiftly to he who disturbs the peace of the pharaoh."